Okay.
So we are going to climb up, going around the welcome area, and then we will take the route to the Grumello vineyards.
Okay.
Start climbing up. I hope you're not suffering vertigo, otherwise we are lost. And here we go.
Look at this.
We can really see how beautiful and steep Grumello vineyards are here. We have the Grumello castle dominating the area.
How many crews you have in Valtellina?
We do have 5 areas. With we have the Sassella, Grumello, Inferno, Valtellina and Maroggia, the smallest. And as a family winery we have 15 hectares in total. The majority are in Sassella, where we have 9 hectares and a half. Then we have 4 hectares and a half here in Grumello area. And then we have 1 hectare only in the Inferno area.
Okay.
All dry stone walls, very full of iron stones everywhere, so you can see a lot of kind of rocky, irony, reddish rocks. Here I think you really have a good perspective of the way we need to work. Of course here everything is manual work, there's no possibility of mechanization at all, so from when you put a plant up to the harvest everything is manual. And we have roughly 1,500 hours per hectare per year, which means 1 person per hectare per year to do all the work, which is kind of crazy if you consider on a hillside can be around 400 hours or 500 hours per hectare. So here is at least 3 times more than a hillside, not even to mention the flat area. And everything is 100% Nebbiolo grape variety that we locally call Chiavenasca. So Ciuinasca is the local name we give to Nebbiolo, coming from this dialect word that means more adapt to be transformed into wine. So basically Nebbiolo has been proved through centuries to deliver the best result here in Valtellina, and so for this reason got this name. But in Valtellina we used to have many more vineyards in the past, because we used to have more than 5,000 hectares when Valtellina was part of Switzerland for 300 years, in between 1512 up to Napoleon time. And in between the wars we lost a lot of population, so dropped down to 3,000 in the 70s. And nowadays we have only 750 hectares left. So we really need to do our very best to preserve all of this for the future, because we don't want to remain a museum in the future. And thankfully we also got a UNESCO recognition for the art of making the dry stone walls, which is incredible, because if you consider if we should put linear all the walls, we will reach 2,500 kilometers of walls.
Whoa.
Which means twice the length of Italy only in terms of walls. So you can imagine how many people, generations and generations has been losing their back bringing up and down stones, and also doing a lot of work, because these terraces have been made really destroying the rocks on the mountainside, making the dry stone walls, and then took back up the soil of the river. That was very much glacier, sandy soil, schisty and granite schisty soil. So it's a kind of poor soil, very mineral, very kind of poor. It's draining a lot. The pH is a low pH. It's a very unique climate, because in this way Nebbiolo has been found his own best probably. And according to the recent genetical studies in between Piedmont and Lombardy, in between the research center from Professor Asha Schneider, seems like that in Valtellina there is much more biodiversity of clones of Nebbiolo, so probably Nebbiolo was actually born in Valtellina. And according to the numbers we gave you, considering that we used to have so many more vineyards, and then actually moved down to North Piedmont and then to the Langhe only later, because Cavour was the one bringing Nebbiolo more and more expanded, and as we know was in the 800th century only. And also we can notice that majority of the wines more consumed locally by really by the normal people in Piemonte, especially in the Langhe area, it's mostly Dolcetto and Barbera. So you can understand that their own normal wine on the table was mainly those, and then Nebbiolo was for sure something more special for the big occasion. So in Valtellina we've been selecting more than 10 Nebbiolo clones, all under the name Chiavenasca. So They are not either Lampia or Miquette, but they have very different characteristics. And what we are doing more recently, since those clones have been selected, we try to use those clones to replace the plant when they are dying. In the old days, we were doing muscle selection in between our vineyards, and we are having plants that are 10, 20, 30 years. Some plants are even 100 years. But since those clones have been studied and recognized virus-free, etc., so in the past few years we've been start buying those clones. The idea for the future will be to use our big pattern, big portfolio in between the old clones and the new best-performing varieties in order to preserve our biodiversity. We know it's a long process because, of course, you start getting fruit from a plant after 5 years only, so it's a long process. We can really see some rocks, something. It's really mainly rocks. You can see here a lot of iron inside. It's a kind of schisty, and a lot of, you can see here, different characteristics, but it's very, very rocky. It's more rocks rather than soil all over. So for this reason, in our wines, you always get a huge quantity of minerality through the wines itself, because the wines, I really love to call it like syrup of rocks, because you get mainly the rocky feeling rather than other feelings, and I think this character brings so easy to drink the wine and so easy to match nearly with whatever food you like. I think this is the best character of our wines in general, and you can really challenge nearly with whatever food you like, from really from the local cuisine up to the river fish, the lake fish, but even the sea fish. You can challenge nearly with whatever you like. So we are in Grumello, so straight up we do have the Grumello Castle. And Grumello, it's a bit more sheltered on the east part of Sondrio, and it's very south facing. And we can see on the other side, it's what I like to call like the dark side of Valtellina, because the vineyards are only on the north part facing south. The south part facing north has no vineyards. It's mainly known for cheese making at the top, and the majority is actually woods. And we cannot see Sassella from here because we are kind of sheltered, as we said, into the Grumello, and the Sassella it's further west, and there is actually Sondrio in between Grumello and Sassella, and there is a physical division of Grumello and Sassella that is made by the Val Malenco, the big valley leading up to the Bernina group, which is leading from Sondrio and going north up to 4,000 meters. So it's a big valley that is bringing a lot of nice fresh air coming down from the north, and is also helping getting the Sassella more and more cooler in a way. And the Sassella it's also a bit more southeast exposed, so and takes benefit from this let's say exposure, and also slight more elevation that we have there. Normally, actually, Grumello, to me, especially this portion, is a bit more delicate because it's a bit more sandy, more kind of delicate soil. And generally speaking, in Grumello, we have a bit more deepness of soil, while either Sassella and Inferno is more rocks and less soil. So you always get that Sassella and Inferno, sometimes you get even more austere when they are young, and then of course with the evolution they get more and more silky. But of course this character it's always kept for all of them. Yeah, so together with my brothers we are now the 5th generation of a family producing wine since 1860s, and the family history has been quite long because up to the 70s we were owning more than 50 hectares, and also we were buying grapes from other people. Actually, you can see from here our cellar was reaching the main road, so the houses we see left and right were actually not existing. We're all cellar up and down, so straight in front of the cellar we used to have our biggest cellar at the time. And what happened in 73, our grandfather suddenly got ill, and our father was the only child working with him, with other people in the family, just interested in the money and not in the business. So Dad and Granddad decided together that the best solution in order to divide was actually to sell. They sold the entire cellar, but thankfully they didn't sell the vineyards. Vineyards were just divided into the family, and it was thanks to this that our father was able to start again with his own vineyards only.
Is it true that it's called the ArPePe e not Arturo Pellegatti Perego because they didn't own their name anymore, because they said
because they sold also the brand. So Arturo Pellizzatti used to be also the name of our great grandfather, so the brand was taken from him. And so when our father decided to start again, he was not allowed to use his full name anymore. So that's why he created ArPePe, the acronyms, to keep his name in a different way. So Arturo Pellizzatti Perego, just as ArPePe, and which is also much easier to remember. You have to think that for 6 years, our father, so the vineyards were actually temporarily rented for a minimum of 10 years, from 73 up to 83. He got them back at the end of 83 after the harvest, and he restarted with vintage 84. But for 6 years, he was doing all his work. He rebought his cellar, because also the cellar we have now that we will see in a while was actually sold. But thankfully, because the vineyards were not sold, so he could keep investing in the vineyards and work hard in there. But for 6 years, he was not even selling one bottle, because he really wanted to create the very long aging process that used to make with his father and grandfather. So whatever we have inside, it's always at least 6 harvests traveling around in between wood, steel, concrete, and bottle. And so you might have the impression that our cellar is actually bigger and our winery is bigger, but it's not, because whatever we hold, it's always around 6 harvests. Now we are just selling the harvest 2009 in terms of cruise. So we are in 2019 and it's 10 years old, because he knew what he was doing. This was something he was already doing with his family since ever, let's say. And so for him was the most natural and classic things to do, because that's the way he believed in his work. And at that time, Arturo Pellizzatti winery, together with Nino Negri, were the 2 biggest winery in Valtellina at the time. We are very patient. Time is our best friend, and this is what we really love to do, because that's what we believe in.